Hello, hey, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing more of a, laid back video where I just react to the Goodreads Choice Awards that just went up this morning. So every year Goodreads does Choice Awards, they break it up by the genres. They do like a top 15 or a top 20 books that get nominated, and readers vote on which books they think are the best books of the year, essentially. And I know, I am fully aware of the fact that the Goodreads Choice Awards do not accurately reflect the best books of the year, okay? It's more of a popularity contest, if we're being honest. Because a lot of times, there will only be a handful of books that people have even read in these categories, and then people will just vote on the books that they've actually read, and most of the time that's like the most popular books in the category, and there's not a lot of representation as far as like independently published books go and different things like that, and I'm fully aware of that, but I still get really excited every year to see kind of like what gets nominated, to see like what's popular, what I haven't read yet. I always like to make the bet that I think I've read at least half of the thriller or the horror or the romance genre picks, because I'm a pretty avid reader when it comes to keeping up with like the new releases as far as romance, thriller, and horror books go, so I would be really surprised if there was like more than half that I haven't read yet. Alright, so this is what the page looks like, best books of 2022. I can already see some books shown in the little preview picture of the genres, but let's click on fiction. First, I'm not expecting to have read too many of this fiction category this year because I don't read as much fiction as I used to, but it's definitely still a genre that I do enjoy. So let's see what's nominated. Okay, I mean, the first thing that I recognize is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which is a book that I definitely want to read. I have it on the shelf back here right behind me. Very much not surprised that this one is nominated, especially because, I don't know if you guys just saw, the Book of the Month, Book of the Year award just got chosen, and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow won the Book of the Year for Book of the Month, so it has me extra curious to check that one out. But yeah, there's a few others that I recognize in here. I've been seeing The Winners by Frederick Bachman going around. I've seen Now Is Not the Time to Panic. Of course, To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. Of course that one's nominated. I still haven't read that one. I'm feeling so behind. Oh my gosh, okay, Our Missing Hearts is nominated. That's pretty cool. I had just checked out that book from the library. I have it behind me. I haven't read it yet. Oh my gosh, no fucking way. Notes on an Execution. That one got put in fiction. How interesting. I was really curious if that one was gonna get nominated as like a thriller or like, a mystery pick, because like that book, it's really hard to determine the genre of that book, so wow, I'm pretty surprised, to be honest, that it's in the fiction category. And then, sorry, it reshuffled when I just refreshed the page, but we have Lucy by the Sea, which is a book that I would still really like to read. And then on the bottom here, we have Wish You Were Here, which is like one of my least favorite books that I've ever read, so ugh. And then Olga Dies Dreaming, which is still a book that I have on my TBR. So I do have quite a bit of books that are on my TBR on this list. So, I mean, that's good to know that they made the top, best books of the year in here. I mean, clearly my vote would be for Notes on an Execution in this, but it's also the only book that I've read in this category so far. Right, and then next up we have the mystery thriller category. I'm so excited to see what gets nominated here. Okay, so on this first line here, I see The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley, which I personally really enjoyed. It was a book troop pick earlier this year, so that's pretty cool. And then I see All Good People here. This is one that's still on my TBR. I've been hearing pretty good things about this one as well. Oh my gosh, Killers of a Certain Age. Nice. This one's also on my TBR. I have not yet read it, but I've heard a lot of really good things about this one. And we have The Bullet That Missed. Oh, this is the third book in the Thursday Murder Club. That's interesting. I always feel like it kind of sucks whenever they put books in that are like part of a series that you have to read the other two books from in order to read that one. Oh my gosh, okay, then we have The Family Remains, which is also a sequel to The Family Upstairs. I have not yet read it. We have The Overnight Guest, which I did read. I thought it was just fine. And then Things We Do in the Dark was a book troop pick earlier this year that I gave 1 star. Was not a huge fan of this one, but I guess it's cool to see it there. The It Girl by Ruth Ware, another book troop pick. That's so crazy. Like, how many book troop picks are we gonna get in this list? Okay, then we have The Maid by Nita Prose. This is another one that I really enjoyed. I read it earlier this year. I gave it 4 stars. A Flicker in the Dark was actually a book that I ended up DNFing, but I kind of figured it might be in this list because this one seems like it's been pretty popular this year. And then we have The Family Game by Catherine Steadman. I actually just finished reading this one very recently for a video, and I actually really enjoyed it. I had so much fun with it, so I'm super stoked to see it here. And then we have Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney, which is actually going to be my December book troop pick because I'm going to be rereading it because of how much I loved it. So that's so exciting to see Daisy Darker on this list. Okay, and then we have The Violin Conspiracy. Okay, I don't even think I've heard of this one, so that's really interesting. Gosh dang it, I keep clicking on these and then it reshuffles all of them, so let's see what I missed. Okay, we have The Housemaid, wow, by Frida McFadden. That's surprising. I don't know, isn't that one more independently published? So I'm kind of surprised to see it on here, but honestly, I feel like it's deserving because that book was really popular this year and I really enjoyed it. And then we have The Golden Couple, which that was a DNF for me, wasn't a huge fan of it. Oh, we have this one, More Than You'll Ever Know. I've seen the cover for this one going around, but I have not yet read it, so that's pretty cool. Let's see, we have The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. This is one that I thought was just fine. I think I gave this one 2 or 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite, but I'm not surprised at all to see it in here. And then we have Wrong Place, Wrong Time. This is another one that I gave it about 3 stars, but that's actually pretty awesome that it made it to the top list here. And then also The Night Shift by Alex Finlay. This is another one that I personally DNF'd. Oh my gosh, then we also have Jackal, which is another book troop pick for the month of November. So we have, wow, so we have 5 book troop picks. If I'm including Daisy Darker as my pick for December as a reread, we have 5 book troop picks that made it into the top thrillers of the year. So that's pretty crazy. Oh my gosh, something I just noticed too is the fact that Riley Sager is not even on this list. Wow, that is shocking. Like, Riley Sager's new book just got gypped. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I still thought it was going to make it onto this list. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, we have 3 books that I DNF'd on this list, 11 books that I have read on this list, and then a few books that are still on my TBR, like Killers of a Certain Age and All Good People Here are at the top of my TBR list from this. But also, we only have 1 book on this list that I've never even heard of, and that's The Violin Conspiracy. So that's pretty cool to be introduced to something new that I've never seen before. But if I had to choose what to vote for just based off of this selection, at least for me personally, I would vote for Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney because I'm a huge fan. Okay, next category is historical fiction. I don't know if I will have read anything from this category, so I'm just kind of curious to see what gets nominated here. Okay, so looking through this historical fiction, the only book that I've read in this category is Carrie Soto is Back, but I have seen a few other of these, and I do have some of these like on my potential TBR. I've been hearing a lot of really good things about Lessons in Chemistry, so that's one that I'm like, maybe I'm interested in reading that, I don't know. But the rest of these, I don't know, I'm not too sure. The only other one is Black Cake. I do have this book still from Book of the Month, and it's still one that I would like to get to, and I've heard really good things about Black Cake, but otherwise, I don't really recognize any of these other books. I see Diane Chamberlain is on here, The Last House on the Street, and she's written a book that I really loved, so I'd definitely be curious to check that one out. But otherwise, you know, historical fiction isn't really my genre, so it doesn't surprise me that I haven't read too many of these. Okay, next up is fantasy, which this is also not really my genre, so I won't be surprised if I have not yet read any of these. Okay, so just with this first top line, we have The Book Eaters, which I'm not totally sure what that is. The Book Eaters, I've never heard of that. We have some Brandon Sanderson in here. Haven't read any of these. The Atlas 6. This was kind of expected, I think, that this would be in here. Same with like Babel. Like, these books are so popular. I mean, I haven't read them, but I've just seen them everywhere. Same with Thistlefoot. I've been hearing a lot about that one. Fairy Tale by Stephen King. Had a feeling that would get nominated. Ordinary Monsters. Okay, we have Legends and Lattes, which I have not yet read this book, but that's one that I'm kind of curious to read. So that's cool that that one's in here. We have, let's see, Sarah J. Maas, of course. Ooh, we have The World We Make, which this is the sequel to a book that I would like to read. Wow, okay, and then we have The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which I thought this one was more of a romance book, so I'm kind of surprised to see it in the fantasy category. But I mean, that's pretty cool that it's in here. We also have this T. Kingfisher book. I don't think I've heard of this one, but wow. So yeah, as expected, I haven't read a single book in the fantasy category because I'm not a fantasy girly, sorry. Alright, next up is the romance, which I'm expecting to have read a lot of this romance category, so let's see what gets nominated. Okay, so first thing right off the bat, I'm seeing Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which I am not at all surprised by. It's probably my favorite romance book that I've read this year, so I'm super stoked to see it here. We have Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, which is no surprise. This book is super popular. I personally read it and I gave it like 3 stars, I think. Like, I thought it was fine, but it's not my favorite. Delilah Green Doesn't Care. This is another book that I have read. I gave it 3 stars. And The American Roommate Experiment. Oh, how interesting. This is one that is still on my TBR. I've been hearing a lot of mixed things about it, so I haven't gotten around to it yet. But I had a feeling it might be on this list because this author is just so freaking popular because of the Spanish love deception, so that's interesting. And then we have The Bodyguard by Catherine Senner, which this is a book that I did read this year. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was really cute, so that's pretty awesome. It's in here. We have It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover, which I definitely anticipated this book being in here. I'm actually currently reading this book right now for my Patreon exclusive vlog, so that's pretty cool. And then we have Thank You for Listening by Julia Whelan. This is kind of surprising, to be honest. I didn't think this book would be on here, but Julia Whelan is, you know, the iconic audiobook narrator who everyone loves and adores, and this story is ironically about an audiobook narrator, so that's pretty cool. We have The Wedding Crasher by Mia Sosa. This was a book that I tried to get into. I couldn't get into it, but that's cool that it's on here. We have Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. Wow, for some reason I didn't think we were gonna have multiple Colleen Hoovers on this list. I guess Reminders of Him, yeah, it did come out at the beginning of the year, so it wouldn't have been on last year's, right? I don't know, that's crazy. We have Every Summer After, which, okay, yeah, I definitely anticipated this book being on this list because of how popular it was, but I personally did not like this book very much. Like, I do not get the hype with this one. We have Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, which this is one that I sadly DNF'd. Wanted to love it, DNF'd it. We have Electric Idol by Katie Roberts. I feel like I've heard of this, at least I've heard of this book series, but I haven't read this book. I don't really know much about it. And then we have Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. This one must be more of a independently published book because I don't recognize it at all. We have You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, which was a really amazing book. I gave this one 4 stars. That's really awesome actually that it's in the romance category. And then we have Twisted Hate. You know, I feel like I've seen this book around, maybe, but I don't think I know anything about it. So that's interesting. We have Funny You Should Ask, which this is another one that I DNF'd, just wasn't a huge fan of. Oh, okay, we have Things We Never Got Over, which, yeah, I should have expected this one to be on here. I have not yet read it, but I've just been seeing this one around, especially on Instagram. So interesting. And then we have Dating Dr. Dill. This is another one that I DNF'd. Gosh, why are there so many on here that I've DNF'd this year? And then we have The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. This is one that I do want to read. I think I do want to read this one because this is the sequel to The X-Hex. But I feel like it would be a good book to save for like spooky season time, so I feel like I've missed the chance. And then Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Yes, I love this book. This was a 5-star book for me. One of my favorite romances that I read this year, so that's pretty cool to see that one on here. Wow, okay, let's see. How many of these have I actually read? Okay, so on this list we have 3 books that I've DNF'd on this list, and then we have 9 books that I have read out of this list. And then we do have some that are like still on my TBR, you know, like The American Roommate Experiment is definitely a book that I would like to get to. Thank You for Listening is another one on my TBR. And then The Kiss Curse is another one that's on my TBR. Also Things We Never Got Over, maybe. I don't really know what it's about, I can't remember. But some of these on here, I don't even recognize them, so I feel like that's pretty cool because they must be, maybe, I'm assuming they're independently published because I don't recognize them at all. But gosh, I mean, you already know, like, if I had to choose a book out of this category, it would definitely be Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Like, I'm definitely biased for that book. I love that book so much. But also, I would probably pick Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. That one left such a huge impact on me. Like, I just loved it so freaking much, so I'm really glad to see it nominated here. I'm also currently reading It Starts With Us, so like I can't say yet if that book lives up to like everything I thought it would be. There's a lot of books in this romance category that I was expecting to be there, so I don't think there's anything too surprising here. Alright, let's move on to science fiction next. I don't know I can't remember which science fiction books that I've read this year that are popular, so we'll see if I've read anything on this list. Okay, I don't recognize some of these first books right off the bat, like the Keiju Preservation Society. Something about when COVID sweeps through New York City, Jamie Gray is stuck as a dead-end driver for food delivery apps. Heck, this sounds wild. I haven't really heard of this one. The Measure, I feel like I've seen this cover, but I've never heard of it. Okay, Ocean's Echo. I recognize this author as the same author as Winter's Orbit, but I have not yet read either Winter's Orbit or Ocean's Echo. I've heard really good things, though, about Winter's Orbit. What the heck? Okay, I haven't heard of these either. Oh, okay, we have Mickey 7, which is a book that I really enjoyed. I gave this one 4 stars. I read it earlier this year, so I love that book. Oh my gosh, we have Upgrade by Blake Crouch. That's exciting. I think I gave this one 4, maybe 4.5 stars as well, so that's exciting to see it there. Ooh, we have Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. That's one that I think I still have on my TBR. I haven't decided for sure if I want to read that one yet, but I've heard really good things about it from most people. Oh my gosh, we have How High We Go in the Dark. This is another book that is still on my TBR. Have not yet read it. Wow, we have The Daughter of Dr. Moreau. I'm kind of surprised that this is in sci-fi? Yeah, like what? I thought this was like a historical fiction kind of horror story. Maybe I'm misinformed. I don't know. Oh my gosh, then we have Leech, which, like, what the heck? I thought this one was horror as well, so I'm kind of surprised to see it in the sci-fi category. Okay, and then we have Dead Silence. Interesting. This is a, like, sci-fi horror novel that I've been hearing a lot about from my friends. A lot of people are really enjoying this one, so that's pretty cool. This one sounds so interesting because it's pitched as Titanic meets The Shining. Like, what the heck? Wow, that's a pretty solid category. I feel like there were definitely some surprises in here, like things that I didn't expect. The only two books that I've read in this category are Mickey 7 and Upgrade, and if I had to choose, like, one of those two, like, I don't know. I liked both of them a whole lot, so I don't know which one I would vote for. But if I had to pick right now, I think I would pick Upgrade as my pick in this category. But there's definitely a few in this category that I would still like to read, like Sea of Tranquility, How High We Go in the Dark, and then also Dead Silence. That's pretty cool that it's in here. Okay, the next category is horror. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to see what's gonna be in this category. Oh, okay, whoa, I'm seeing things. Okay, so just the top bar, just like, let's discuss this top bar here. We have House of Hunger, which is exciting. I haven't read it yet, but I've been seeing it around, so that's pretty cool that it's on here. The Devil Takes You Home, which, interesting, I totally, for some reason, I forgot that this is a horror book. I was thinking in my head that it was like a mystery thriller. So, what the heck, that's so cool that it's on here. I have not yet read it. We have The Cherry Robbers. What? I don't even know what this is. Okay, I'll have to look into it because I don't know. I've never even heard of this book, so that's pretty exciting. Okay, we have Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. This is one that I was anticipating that it would be on this list because Rachel Harrison is almost always on these lists lately, and I really enjoyed Such Sharp Teeth. I read it in October. Oh my gosh, and then we have Sundial by Catriona Ward. Wow, that's kind of surprising. I don't know why I wasn't expecting it to be in the horror category, but this is one that I gave 3 stars. I read it earlier this year. Okay, then we have Manhunt. This is one that I originally did have it on my TBR, but then I was hearing some, like, really negative reviews, and so I wasn't sure if it was still something that I'd want to read, so I haven't read this one yet. And then we have White Horse, which I also just recently finished reading this one for a video. We have The Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. This was a book troop pick earlier this year, and this is one that I really enjoyed for the most part. I think I gave it like 4.5 stars, so that's exciting to see it here. And then we have Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates. I know Darcy Coates ends up in this horror section like every single year, and I just don't know if Darcy Coates is for me, but I did expect her to be on here. And then we have The Fervor. What the heck is this? About World War II Japanese American internment camps. Okay, yeah, I've never even heard of this one either, so what the heck? We have What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This one was a DNF for me. Okay, and then there's Juniper and Thorn, which this is another one that I've never even heard of. Like, this looks a little bit more fantasy and not horror, so I don't really know what that is. Okay, and then we have Just Like Mother. This is another one that I did read this year. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Then we have, okay, the Stephen King, Richard Chismar, Gwendy's Final Task. I haven't read it. I didn't even know this came out this year, so that's interesting. Oh, okay, we have The Hacienda. This is one that is still on my TBR, one that I would like to read. Then we have Our Wives Under the Sea. This is one that I've been hearing some really good things about, so this one is still on my TBR. Oh my gosh, as well as The Violence. This is another one that I've been hearing a lot of really good things about, so that one's still on my TBR too. We have Hidden Pictures. This is one that I actually consider it to be more of like a mystery thriller book, but that's cool, I guess, that it ended up in horror. I gave this one 4 stars earlier this year. Oh my god, we have We Spread by Ian Reid, which is probably my favorite book that I've read so far this year, but it's hard for me to justify putting this book in the horror category because I don't know if it would necessarily fit with the horror category, but this book is definitely like a genre-defying kind of book, you know? And then we have Small Angels by Lauren Owen. This is another one that I've never even freaking heard of, and I feel like it looks to me, at least it looks to me and it sounds to me more like it would be fantasy and not really, you know, horror, so I'm kind of surprised that it's in here. So like, what the heck? There's 4 books in this list that I've never even heard of. Like, wow, I didn't even think that could still happen. So on this horror list, I've only read 6 of the horror books on this list. Like, what the heck? That's crazy. And then we do have 5 books on this list that are still on my TBR that I would like to read, and like the other ones, it's like I don't really have any interest in them, or I have no idea what they are. So like the 5 that are on my TBR that I still do want to read are House of Hunger, The Devil Takes You Home, The Hacienda, and then Our Wives Under the Sea, and The Violence. Like those are the ones that I've had on my TBR still throughout the year. But then these other ones, like some of them I've never even heard of. Like what the heck? So I mean, at this time, if I had to vote in this category based off the 6 books that I have read in this category, I would definitely vote for We Spread because it's my favorite book that I've read this year. I don't know if it necessarily fits into this horror category necessarily, but also I think I would vote for The Children on the Hill. That's definitely one of my favorite horror books that I've read this year. But like, damn, wow, what a category. Okay, next is humor. I don't really read a lot of humorous books, so I don't think I know anything in this category, so that's going to be a quick skip for me, sorry. Next is nonfiction though. I feel like I do try to read some nonfiction throughout the year, but I feel like this year especially, I haven't been reading nearly as much nonfiction as I have in the past. Yeah, there is nothing in this category that I've read yet. The only books that I have heard of that I'm like slightly interested in include Bittersweet. That's one that I did own the book at one point. Then we have the memoirs. Let's see if I've read any of these. Okay, I have read We Were Dreamers by Simu. I did love We Were Dreamers. It's such a cute book. Oh, duh, of course. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Like, of course that would be on here. I read that book, 5 stars, exceptional, incredible. Oh, okay, yeah, the Matthew Perry. That one just got released recently. I'm currently on hold for that one at my library, but I am very curious in that one. And then Viola Davis also has a memoir. I didn't realize she came out with one this year, so that's pretty cool. I mean, if I had to vote now, just based off of these 2 that I've read, I mean, I love both of them so much. Like, it's hard to choose, honestly, between We Were Dreamers and I'm Glad My Mom Died. They definitely have different vibes to them. All right, next up is history and biography. I don't think, this is another category that, like, this is not my thing. I don't think I've read anything in here, so we'll skip to the graphic novels and comics. Also, do you think they nominate any manga? Because this is like my first year that I've really gotten into manga, and so I'm wondering if there would be any manga included in the graphic novels and comics, you know, category, maybe? I don't know, let's see. Oh gosh, okay, I don't really recognize anything in here besides Heartstopper. Okay, we have Heartstopper Volume 4. Okay, we have Saga Volume 10, which I'm behind on the Saga series, but I do enjoy the Saga series. We have Fangirl Volume 2, the manga in here, which is exciting. But yeah, wow, otherwise, I don't really recognize any of these. I actually get really excited though when I feel like I haven't read anything in like the graphic novel and the poetry categories, because then it gives me so many options to like build a TBR of graphic novels and poetry. So yeah, the only ones that I've read in this category would be Fangirl and Heartstopper, and honestly, I would vote for either one of them, but like Heartstopper, of course, Heartstopper is top tier. Okay, let's check out the poetry category. This is one that I don't think I have read any poetry yet this year. I don't know why, I really love to save poetry for like this time of year, like November, December, so I love when this list comes out because then it gives me so many ideas for like what kind of poetry I could be reading. Yeah, just browsing through this list, I don't think I've read any of these poetry books yet. I've heard about this one and Yet. I do have the audiobook for this one, so I'll probably try to get to this one before the end of the year. I also have heard of Unlock Your Storybook Heart. This one is an author that I've read from a number of times before, so I am interested in reading this one. But yeah, haven't read any of these, so I'll definitely probably be trying to get to some of these before the end of the year because I really do love reading poetry collections towards the end of the year. Okay, on to debut novel. Let's see what we got in here. I like the debut novel category because there can be books from other categories that make it onto this debut novel category. So like, okay, we have Every Summer After. That's kind of expected because this book is just so goddamn popular, even though I don't get it. We have Memphis. This is one that I have not heard of. Night Crawling. This is one, I've seen this cover around everywhere, but I have not yet read it or heard of it really. Cleopatra and Frankenstein. Okay, we have Jackal on here. I always forget that that one's a debut. We have Our Wives Under the Sea, which is again on my TBR. Okay, we have Daughter of the Moon Goddess. We have All Good People Here. Wow, we have How High We Go in the Dark. Okay, Olga Dies Dreaming. Wow, okay, so I think... okay, I think the only ones I've read on this whole list is Every Summer After, Jackal, The Maid, and yeah, that's it. Holy shit, wow, only 3. There's definitely some on here that I'm still interested in reading though, like Our Wives Under the Sea, as I said, All Good People Here, How High We Go in the Dark, Olga Dies Dreaming, and The Hacienda, and Black Cake. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that Black Cake is a debut as well. I would probably vote for The Maid, because that's the only one I really enjoyed out of all of the debuts that I've read on this list, but it's pretty wild. I've been hearing so much about Lessons in Chemistry, and I'm kind of surprised that that one's a debut as well. I didn't realize that, so that's cool. Alright, on to young adult fiction. I am not totally sure if I will have read anything in this category because I don't read a ton of young adult these days, but I'm still pretty familiar with a lot of like the popular young adult titles that are going around, so let's see. Yeah, I've heard of Ophelia After All. I have not yet read it, but it looks interesting. Oh my gosh, of course, Family of Liars. I could have predicted that this would be on this list. Same goes for The First to Die at the End, the Adam Silvera. I've been hearing about this one a lot, but I have not yet read it. Oh yeah, duh, The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. I have read that one, really enjoyed it. Let's see, All My Rage. Holy shit, Loveless! Loveless by Alice Oseman is on here. Wow, I was not expecting that. I feel like, didn't Loveless come out in like 2020? Maybe it's because it published in America in 2021? I don't know, dude, but wow, I was not expecting Loveless to be on here. Okay, and then yeah, I Kissed Shara Wheeler. That's the only other one that I've read. So out of all of these books, I've only read The Weight of Blood, I Kissed Shara Wheeler, and Loveless. And I mean, come on, do I even have to tell you that I would vote for Loveless? Like, of course I would vote for Loveless. I'm so shocked that it's on here. That's such great news. All right, on to young adult fantasy and sci-fi. I mean, this is really not my genre, so I don't think I would have read anything on this list, but let's take a look anyways. Yeah, I have not read anything on this list. No surprises here. Skipping ahead to the middle grade and children's category, which is the last category here. And this is again not really my genre. I'm not a big middle grade or children's book reader. So there's nothing here that I recognize. So yeah, I guess that's a wrap on the Goodreads Choice Awards for this year. I am pretty shocked, to be honest, about some of the things that are included in some of these categories. Like some of the things I was like, oh duh, of course that would be in there. But then some of these books, like I can't believe the fact that I've only read 6 of the horror books in the horror category. Like I'm just so shocked by that because last year I had read almost nearly all of them, I think. Like last year I had a lot better of numbers that I've read. And same with like the romance category. Like I am pretty happy with the romance category, but at the same time, like there's so many books on this list that I personally DNF'd. So it's like, that kind of sucks because it's not exactly my taste in romance that's getting nominated, but I get why they're getting nominated because it's like the most popular books, you know? So yeah, that is a wrap on the Goodreads Choice Awards and my reactions to them this year. I am pretty surprised about some of those things, not gonna lie. Let me know, what are your thoughts about the Goodreads Choice Awards? Like, are any of your favorite books nominated? I can't believe Goodreads didn't nominate Riley Sager. Like, that is so shocking to me. I thought for sure The House Across the Lake would be in that thriller category. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think got snubbed. Like, was there anything else you were really anticipating would be on these lists and you're shocked that it's not? Let me know your thoughts down below, and also let me know your predictions for like what you think might win each of these categories, because that's also fun. I feel like for romance, for sure, I think it's either going to be Book Lovers or one of the Colleen Hoover books that will take that title just because those books are so popular. But yeah, thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye!